Good afternoon, guests, faculty, staff, and of course, SAIS Europe Class of 2020. I hope you are all safe and healthy wherever you are in the world. Welcome to our SAIS Europe Commencement. It may look like I am alone here in the auditorium, but I am accompanied online by hundreds of people on this webinar, including the SAIS Europe faculty, more than 70 in total, who together with the SAIS Europe staff, join me in warmly congratulating you and wishing farewell to the Bologna class of 2020. Some of you still in Bologna are here with us today, and despite the need for social distancing and the masks on everyone's face, I can't hide that I'm truly emozionato to have you here with us back here in the building. It was truly heartbreaking when you had to leave. So normally this is a moment to say goodbyes, but this year was quite different. We didn't have time to say goodbye when you all left, and we already missed you, even though that usually starts to happen in June. And we mourn the shared experiences that we're unable to have together in the spring. My heart goes out to each and every one of you, to those of you in lockdown, to those of you who are separated from your loved ones, for those of you who had to cancel your no doubt enviable travel plans. And I mean to all of us, and no one was spared, whose lives were turned upside down due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Indeed, we're living through one of the world's greatest challenges in generations. Perhaps the COVID-19 crisis does not compare to a major war or threat of nuclear calamity, but its rapid arrival, its global reach, and the great sense of uncertainty and concern for the future that it imparts attests to its historical significance. Thankfully, many countries, including Italy, have been able to bring the coronavirus under control, but it is still a major threat with the possibility of second and third waves in the future. Very simply, we need to continue to be vigilant until we have a vaccine or rock-solid treatments. The relevance of a SAIS education in this context of such a pandemic is obvious. Policymakers are not to be envied these days with all the difficult choices they need to make, but those with the SAIS degree possess the strong interdisciplinary analytical tools necessary to deal with crises today as well as into the future, and make wise decisions supported by evidence-based analysis that save lives. From the North Korean and Iranian strategic conundrums to populism and trade protectionism, the eclectic, cutting-edge academic experience that you are receiving at SAIS is giving you the foundations you will need to tackle legacy issues and future challenges. This marks the 65th anniversary of the Bologna Center. The goal of its founder, Professor Seagrove Haynes, was to provide advanced training to students representing many nationalities who would be taught by a top-notch international faculty and would learn from each other, sharing in unique experiences that would prepare them for careers as global leaders in international affairs. The class of 2020 is exemplary in this regard. Despite the pandemic that came crashing upon us in mid-spring semester, you have impressed your professors in the classroom, bonded outside the classroom, and have demonstrated a truly very strong esprit de corps. The class of 2020, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart that I have every confidence that you will certainly make the world a better place. You were special from the beginning. First, you brought a remarkable geographical diversity to SAIS Europe. This class has 45 different nationalities representing all four corners of four different continents. Certainly this cultural richness makes SAIS Europe such a great place at which to teach and in which to do research and work. So let me thank you, class of 2020, for what you've brought to Bologna Center this year, despite its challenges. Your class featured a notable acumen for organizing yourselves according to interests and putting your ideas into action. You formed no fewer than 20 student organizations, and in addition to the many activities during the year, there were many plans, initiatives, and projects that were in the works before COVID came into the picture. For example, we were proud to see launched the SAIS Europe's first Student Diversity Coalition, SDC, from organizing sellout samosa fundraisers to raging karaoke nights, SDC proved that it was possible to address critical issues of importance to the community without sacrificing entertainment value. In February, before the lockdown, the Middle East and North African Club trip traveled to Amman, Jordan, for a weekend of meetings with SAIS Europe alumni and various humanitarian organizations. In January, a group of you traveled to Vienna to participate in the cultural or the career track, visiting organizations such as the UN, the USCE, the World Bank, or cultural centers like Belvedere, the Opera House, and the Spanish Riding School, as well as events put on by the Austrian alumni. You were soon joined by 160 of your closest friends to attend the Vienna Hall of Sciences. And Vienna was just one of your career treks. You also descended upon Brussels, Geneva, London twice, Amsterdam, and Milano. All told, 117 students participated in the 7 different career treks that were put on by the Office of Career Services. Normally, my commencement speech continues with stories about trips taken during spring break and activities throughout the spring, but I'll have to stop here and dedicate a moment to thanking you for your flexibility, the flexibility that you demonstrated in the switch from in-person to virtual education, which you did with patience, grace, and effectiveness. You continue to attend all of your classes. For time, a number of you had to wake up at very odd times during the night, and I'm very well aware of that. You should be proud of the dynamic and unique community you have created over the last 9 months. This is my 6th year as director of SAIS Europe, my 19th year as professor of international economics, and my 38th year as a Bologna Center alumnus. I know it doesn't look like it, but I'm testing the hypothesis that Sangiovese is actually the fountain of youth. So we'll see. Every May, when I look back on what the departing class has brought to the institution, I'm astounded by the list of memorable achievements. But the class of 2020 will always have a very special place in my heart. Student, the future is in your hands. Complete your assigned readings, even if you're done with if you're done with your exams. And please remember, the tools you learn this year are not just meant to help you with your first job after graduation, but rather to thrive throughout your careers. To borrow from the Keynesian propaganda you no doubt got from Professor Tadei in your macro class, in the long run, we may be all dead, but in the meantime, we change jobs frequently. You will be well prepared to do so. So, I now have the pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker, Bologna alumna and member of the SAIS Europe Advisory Council, Fiona Campbell. Fiona is currently the controller of and editor-in-chief at BBC Three, the British Broadcasting Corporation's channel dedicated to providing innovative programming to a target audience of viewers between 16 and 34 years old. And that would be most of you. Born and raised in Belfast, Fiona completed her undergraduate study in economics at Cambridge and arrived in Bologna for her graduate study in 1992. Fiona is an expert digital content creator who puts audiences at the heart of content she creates. During her career, she founded BBC Stories, the BBC content stream that focuses on women and the under 34 audience. As a TV director, Fiona made current affairs and documented films all over Europe, Africa, Afghanistan, Iraq, Kosovo, and Cambodia. Fiona also served as director of digital for BBC News, where she was a member of the BBC News board and was responsible for BBC News's strategy to engage and build relationships with the youth audience on and off BBC digital platforms. At present, under Fiona's leadership, BBC Three produces award-winning content in fields of drama, comedy, documentaries, and entertainment. It operates as a digital service on the BBC's video on demand service and also publishes to social media channels. Fiona is also supportive of the BBC's Women in Leadership Group and the BBC's Rise Diversity Scheme, mentoring individuals inside and outside the BBC. Today, Fiona joins us from Northern Ireland, where she recently returned to live. Fiona, we are so pleased to welcome you back to Bologna virtually and look forward to your address. Please.
Thank you very much. Welcome to today's commencement ceremony, everybody, and welcome to your friends and family joining us. These are the people who've supported you on your journey to SAIS, and I'm sure for them, this is an incredibly proud moment. I'm feeling quite emotional. As Director Plummer said, I graduated Bologna Centre 26 years ago, and I want to reflect today on these hugely uncertain times and the strength of the Bologna Centre SAIS education in underpinning your personal story that will carry you forward into successful careers. I have a lot to thank Bologna for myself. I was provided with the analytical skills, the financial aid, and the professorial support from Patrick and Veronica McCarthy, John Harper, the amazingly fun former director Bob Evans, as well as my thesis supervisor Vera Zamagni. Their guidance and wise words carried me through the next decades of my career, but none of that was clear to me at the time. At the moment you sit today, I did not have a job offer as I sat in your shoes today. But I tell you this, uncertainty is not something to feel pressured about. It can bring great opportunity and a chance to enter new fields as traditional entry routes are disrupted and create new gaps for you to exploit. My master's and time studying political theory and economy inspired me to specialise initially in international television journalism in a world that had not yet heard of Al-Qaeda. I spent a decade immersed in hostile environments, covertly filming illegal girls' schools in Afghanistan under the Taliban, meeting bin Laden representatives such as Khalid Al-Fawaz, who's now resident in the UK high security Belmarsh prison. And in 1998, the horror of the African embassy bombings brought me to Kenya. One night, when I was a bit lost after a month on location post the bombing, I was in a nightclub in Nairobi and in the middle of a very dark dance floor, bumped into Jaume, a former Spanish friend from the Bologna Centre who was working there for the UN. And I cannot tell you the relief of that friendly face after witnessing such horror, the effect that had on me. And SAIS and the Bologna Centre, as you all know, will bring you those lifetime connections that will support you around the world and do me even today, 26 years later. I was the early generation of producers who began to shoot their own video. And it was just something about the SAIS, get in there and do it attitude that gave me the determination to not let the technical details of radio mics stump me. And then in 2003 came the Iraq War, and I was sent to Baghdad, embedded with the Armoured Brigade to invest claims of WMD. Sleeping in Saddam's former palaces, it was like experiencing living history. And we shared a hostel with UN Iraq head Sergio Vieiro de Mello and his team, decompressing with them at night. But only weeks later, their headquarters was bombed and they were all killed. This was experiencing global politics writ large in very strong emotional terms. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that after years of that, it does take its mental toll. I absolutely did not think this path lay ahead of me when I was in your place today. And I want to underline again the opportunities that lie ahead of you. With the rise of Silicon Valley, I moved into digital content creation, becoming the digital director of BBC News 4 years ago. And last year, the controller of BBC Three, the BBC's youth content channel, that's now streaming the drama Normal People, which has become a global hit. News itself had around 90 million users globally, and exploring platforms such as Facebook Live, Instagram, and Snap, as they were all launched, was incredibly innovative and exciting after years in television. I found myself in Apple's Infinite Loop headquarters, striking global content deals, and travelled to Mumbai to sign world service Indian language ventures with Jio, India's largest mobile platform. And again, none of this was clear to me, or in fact, none of these platforms even existed when I sat in your shoes today. So today, pandemics, trade deals, antibody tests, tracking apps, personal data security. All these new questions facing the world will create opportunities for you. I am sure of this. You just don't know it yet. You stand looking forward, and as Director Plummer said, you will help shape the solutions and successes to overcome the crises economies and your countries face now. And I know from personal experience, the SAIS education will get you there and will drive you forward when the going gets tough, as it will. It is something you and your family should be incredibly proud of. Good luck, and I look forward to hearing of your achievements.
Thank you so much, Fiona, for that inspiring speech. Certainly Bologna Center trying to have 90 million viewers, which would be great. That's something to aspire to. And I hope we will have a lot more trade deals. So there's going to be a lot of work out there for everyone. Okay. Now I'd like to invite Director of Student Life, Gabrielle Calabro, or whom we call Gabs Collabs, to join to the recognition of candidates for degrees and tackle the formidable challenge of pronouncing each of your names. Gabby.
Yes, thank you, Director Plummer. Thank you all. It's so nice to be here today, and it's my pleasure to announce the candidates, the degree candidates for the SAIS Europe Class of 2020. So we will start with, I'm having difficulty getting my screen to move, the 2020 candidates. Nicholas Hintermeyer. Ivan Yurov. I'll now announce the candidates for the 2020 class of the Master of Arts. Samuel DeMeza. Matteo Takami Todisco. Julie Wang. It's my pleasure to now announce the 2020 candidates for the Master of Arts in Global Risk. Sofia Alexandrevkus. Petr Aspatron. Alessandro Baratti. Mariah C. Grubb. Christian Gruber. Kirill Klimov. Patrick Peroff. Marie Lindialova. Anthony Meyer. Keith Kennedy Miller. Olivia Northrop. Brandon Peterson. Liberty Siegel. Anahita Tabrizi. Eldad Taushir. Brian Raffaele Teeter. Jefferson Ventrella. It is my pleasure to now announce the 2020 candidates for the Master of Arts in International Affairs. Josue Eduardo Arteaga. Gerardo Avila Cervantes. Giacomo Bogo. Ariana Bondi. Nenda Catherine Chinda. Shinzia Danielle Chiriak. Lorenzo Fontanelli. Nicolás Ferrero Villarreal. Yasin B. Guy. Maria Griston. Ewan Gukian. William Hargreaves. Maria Hilligenbrunner. Robin Houquet. Ocean Koya. Rap Cruizu. Anushka Linglar. Williamine Meltzer. Isabeau Mensing. Hild Marie Maholt. Charlotte Piacentino. Maurizia Maria Puccini. Lucrezia Scavioli. Rosanna Shita. Frida Leah Stanslin. Julie Stover. Manon Tapol. Please join me in one final round of applause for our 2020 graduates.
Thanks very much, Gabby. Excellent job with the names, and congratulations to our graduates of the class of 2020. So now we're ready to go on to the awards ceremonies. Since 1992, the Johns Hopkins Alumni Association has annually honored faculty throughout the university who excel in the art of teaching. At each of the Hopkins schools, the award can be given to one or more professors and students are involved in the nomination and selection process. Every year, we invite students to vote for an adjunct faculty member here in Bologna who has represented excellence in teaching at SAIS Europe. The competition is always quite stiff. But the winner, and please help me with the drum roll, the 2020 winner of the Johns Hopkins Alumni Association's Excellent in Teaching Award is Professor Arna Hartmann. Professor Hartmann is the Stephen Muller Professor and taught 2 courses this year at SAIS, Rural Development, Gender and Social Inclusion, and Topics in Growth and Development. Professor Hartmann is a repeat winner of the Excellent in Teaching Award, having first won the award in 2011 and more recently in 2019. An adjunct professor at SAIS Europe since 1998, Professor Hartmann has held senior management positions at the World Bank, where she spent most of her career, as well as in various positions as senior advisor and researcher with UNICEF and the World Commission on Social Dimensions of Globalization. She is a member of the accountability mechanisms of the African and Asian development banks, as well as the quality review process of IFAD in Rome. Professor Hartmann holds degrees in law and economics from Hamburg University and American University, Washington, D.C., of course, as well as diplomas from the German Development Institute, Johns Hopkins University, and Harvard University. She is a 1980 graduate of the Bologna Center. Students who nominated Professor Hartmann for the Excellence in Teaching Award praised her for her ability to stimulate and motivate students, challenging material, her dedication, and the insights into development work she conveyed based on her career as a hands-on development professional. Professor Hartmann, will you please turn on your video and say a few words?
Well, I must tell, I'm so thrilled to receive this award and so honored. And I must say, I also think it's very undeserved, because when I learned that I had to teach online, I said, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this with my teaching style, which is so based on interaction and simulation of real life situations. And I must say, I really would like to share this award with my students who carried me particularly through in the beginning in spring, teaching me how to do all this online, and above all, of being so cooperative and so resilient to make this work. I must say, I remember this class as very hardworking, focused, resilient, and interested. I remember my rural development class working very hard in fall, uncharacteristically. And I said, this is really very good because spring is so beautiful in Bologna. We need to work hard now so we can have time together in spring to enjoy Italy, Bologna, and go to Romania to do the study trip. Well, as you all know, it didn't turn out the way we planned to. And I must say, I will never forget March 8 and March 9. I was teaching on both of these days. On March 8, my class was somewhat somber, but still full of plans, what to do in spring break, go to Egypt, go to Morocco, go to Austria skiing or something else, go to Portugal and wait out till the situation improves in Italy. Well, March 8 in the evening, the lockdown decision came. And on March 9, we met again in class. Some of you were already in the plane home. And all of you were wondering what to do, to stay, to leave. Some of you then said you had to go pack your suitcase. You just got a plane. It was quite a remarkable experience. At the time in Germany, we really didn't sense the virus yet. And I will not forget that. And then 2 weeks later, I found you back, dispersed either in lockdown in Bologna or dispersed around the world, in China, around in Africa, all over Europe, all over the US, all in quarantine and ready to go on with the course. I found that very remarkable and a sign of focus, resilience, and willingness to adjust to very different and difficult circumstances. I would like to profoundly thank you for this willingness to carry through in difficult circumstances and strives for success. I must also tell you that I learned a lot from you in this class. I learned a lot from my rural development class, which was so interested. And I learned a lot in spring when I asked you to work on each of your developing countries you chose to assess the impact of COVID-19. And we together worked through your countries and looked at the latest data and saw what's likely going to happen. I found that very inspiring, interesting, and I really learned a lot from you. All I can say now, thank you so much for honoring me with this award. Thank you for being so collaborative and so resilient. As Mike Plummer said in his opening statement, this class will have a very special place in our heart. And I would also like to ask you, please come back to Bologna soon to one of our next alumni meetings. When you come, we will celebrate you. And my wish is that you can come back and that I can finally take you to Romania, to the place where Hayden assisted me in preparation of this trip, to show you the country which we both know so well, which we wanted to show you in April. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Arna, and for articulating what we faculty all feel about this semester and how much we appreciate what the students did to help us and to adapt to the new situation. It was really remarkable and testifies to really to great stamina as well as integrity, I would say. Now, the Grove Haynes Prizes are named after the Bologna Center founder and longtime director. Their purpose is to commemorate Grove Haynes' commitment to international graduate level education and international affairs, and to honor the best research produced by SAIS Europe students. The prizes have been awarded for the best MAIA thesis or thesis-length independent study project and the best student paper research project in international economics, international policy areas, and regions of the world. My colleagues will be joining me here to award these prizes. John, Erik, Filippo, and Mark, could you please turn on your video and audio and join me in the honor? Great. Okay, let's begin with international policy areas presented by Mark Gilbert, Professor of History and International Studies. Mark.
Thank you, Mike, very much. First of all, I'd just like to say a few words of congratulations for the class of 2020. It really has been a pleasure working and, until March, socializing with such an enthusiastic and committed group of students. I too am feeling a little bit emozionato to see you go and share every word that Anna said at the end of her little talk. The Groves Prize in international policy areas, or more generally in international relations, was an intensely contested one. I think it's fair to say that all the papers submitted were quite outstanding pieces of work, and two of them were frankly exceptional. The winner can therefore take some pride in his or her achievement. The winning paper had an intriguing question. Why does the United States have so many military bases around the world? And it really does have a lot. It also had an intriguing answer. In brief, the author of the paper suggested that what he called the empire of bases was constructed through the demands of successive political, military, and technological contingencies. There was a long-standing institutional predisposition in the US government to possessing bases and a bureaucratic indisposition to dismantling them. And so every new crisis was turned into an opportunity to build new bases and strengthen old ones. To quote the author, while the stated purpose of any single base could change with great flexibility, the imperative to maintain these bases endured, demonstrating an organizational consensus to retain and deepen the status quo. The author does a very good job in this paper of showing how, historically, this mindset, if you like, emerged and evolved in the wider context of the American emergency state. The paper was originally written for Professor Unger's class. The paper is meticulously researched, extremely well structured, and for the most part, very well written. It also combines historical narrative with social science theory in an innovative way. All in all, it is a worthy winner. So, without further ado, drum roll, the winning paper is A Life of Its Own, The Impact of Contingency on American Overseas Bases, and the author and the winner of the Groves Prize for International Policy is Brian Steiner. Congratulations, Brian. A virtual salute to you. Well done.
Congratulations, Brian. Okay, the next regions of the world will be presented by Erik Jones, Director of European and Eurasian Studies and Professor of European Studies and International Political Economy. Erik.
Thanks, Mike. And thanks, everyone, for coming together like this. I have to say, this is the most extraordinary graduation I've seen. And it's been fabulous working with you, and I hope we'll catch up again soon. Look, we're living through a period of unprecedented turmoil, and it's at times like these that it's important to reflect both on the possibilities for reform and on their implications. The paper that wins the prize for the best contribution in regional studies is a careful exploration of one of the most famous recent reform measures undertaken in the past 3 decades. What the author shows is that the impact of the reforms was not, as many allege, to strengthen macroeconomic performance above and beyond what would have happened given the influence of other factors. What those reforms did accomplish, however, was to push those people who were most protected under the old system back into employment, usually at a significant loss of income, resulting in increasing inequality across the labor market. These findings are important lest we think too easily about applying the same prescriptions to other countries in the months and years ahead. The paper is called Paradise Lost for Prosperous Germans, a look at the end of status orientation in the German unemployment benefit system. And the winner for the Seagrove Haynes Prize for the best paper submitted this year in regions of the world is Peter Brown. Congratulations, Peter.
There he is. Congratulations, Peter. The Award for International Economics will be presented by Filippo Taddei, Associate Professor of the Practice of International Economics, Academic Director of the Major Degree, and Director of the Bologna Institute for Policy Research, which he hates to call Beeper, but we do it anyway. Filippo.
Thank you, Mike. And it honestly, it breaks our heart to have a commencement ceremony without being able to have you all back on campus. But this is the best we can. And of course, at least it will be a memorable experience. And hopefully we'll never see anything like this in the future. This year's paper, the paper that received the Cross-Ain Award for International Economics, discusses the challenges of monetary policy in the euro area. As we very well know, the Eurozone has a limited degree of fiscal coordination, so the Monetary Authority, the European Central Bank, needs to come to the rescue from time to time. As part of this effort, the ECB plays with, among the many tools, with its collateral framework, and which is an important tool in this dimension. This is important because whenever banks borrow, they post collateral. And in order for the ECB to accept that collateral, well, that collateral must belong to a certain class of assets. Of course, the ECB is in charge of picking which assets are eligible for collateral and which are not. This year's paper points out that by expanding the set of assets that the ECB accepts as collateral, the central bank is acting consistently with, quote unquote, the perception that all sovereign debt securities benefit from the same liquidity. Yet, as the crisis of 2009 unfolded, the ECB general collateral framework in some way ended up backfiring and inhibiting the ability to lessen the impact of the crisis on some countries in particular, on some of the most affected countries then. So you have to wonder why did that happen? And it has to do with the shortcoming of the institutional framework, which the paper points to, the institutional framework in Europe, of course. Since the ECB cannot bail out a failing member state, losing the collateral rules, the central bank began, quote unquote, to bail out commercial banks in order to support a struggling sovereign, with the result of hurting both in the process. As the current lockdown crisis unfolds, what happened then provides guidance to European policymakers and private bankers. We have already seen how the rules that were intended to help ended up hampering the financial sector and the recovery of the real economy. So let me congratulate the 2020 Gross Aims winner for the international economics, Alexis Korn, for her research or paper, decoupling the sovereign debt crisis of Greece, Ireland, and Cyprus.
Do we have a video? Oh no, she's traveling. So
she's traveling, yeah. Alexis is traveling, unfortunately.
Okay, great. And finally, for the C. Grove Haynes prizes anyway, is the MAIA thesis, which will be presented by John Harper, the Kenneth H. Keller Professor and Professor of American Foreign Policy. John.
Hello, everybody. Hello, class of 2020. And a special hello to my debaters, if you're out there. And hello to Fiona. It's always nice to see you. And thank you for your talk. The Seagrove Haynes Prize, named, of course, for the founder of the center in 1955, for the best MAIA thesis, is available every year, but we don't give it every year. To receive the prize, the thesis must be among the best we have received in any year. And the winner this year more than rises to the challenge. The thesis starts from a theoretical puzzle. How can small states have a significant impact on issues dominated by big states? For example, how did Norway play such an important role in fostering negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians in the early 1990s? The answer required both intensive theoretical and empirical research. And what follows is a rich personal, detailed, and critical narrative account focusing on the role of the negotiators themselves in the Oslo process in the early 1990s. From today's perspective, we know that they did not succeed in fostering a permanent peace, in part because, as the thesis shows, they lacked power. And at crucial moments, they tended to defer to the stronger party, the Israelis, in order to sustain the negotiations. Nonetheless, they got further than anyone might have expected. The thesis enriches both our theoretical understanding of the role of small states in conflict mediation, including its innate limits in asymmetrical conflicts like this one, and our empirical knowledge of the case. Either of these contributions would have made it a strong thesis. The combination of the two makes it one of the best we have ever received. The name of the thesis is, "What Role Did Norway Really Play in the Oslo Process?" Tracing Norway's contribution to the Israeli-Palestinian peace process until September 1993. The author is Fride Stensland, so join me in congratulating her.
Thanks, Erik. Yeah, congratulations, Frida, and to everyone who won the Grove Haynes prizes. Now we move on to the Excellence in Gender Research Prize, which was established by the Global Women Leadership Student Group of the Bologna Center Class of 2018 and the Bologna Center Class of 1975. First awarded in 2019, the prize recognizes the importance of research into how gender shapes international affairs and policies. The prize honors the best research paper or article produced by SAIS Europe students, which engages a gender perspective to examine international affairs. Nina Hall, our Assistant Professor of International Relations, will be joining me to present this award. Nina.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me all right? Yes, great. Well, just to echo my colleagues, it's been a real privilege to teach you all this year and learn from you all. And I'm sad we can't farewell you in person, but hope we can connect again, be it for a gelato or an aperitivo in Bologna in future. So the award this year for the Excellence in Gender Research Prize is for a powerful paper on gendered racism and the prosecution of sexual discrimination, assault, and rape. It was an extremely well-researched analysis of how Black female survivors have faced significantly greater barriers to justice than their white counterparts throughout US history. As the essay notes, for more than 2/3 of the 20th century, not a single white man was convicted of raping a Black woman, despite clear evidence of such attacks occurring. And the paper is remarkable for its combination of legal and socio-political analysis, starting at the era of slavery and going right up to the Me Too movement. It examines, for instance, recent studies to illustrate the persistence of gender bias and racial bias in juries, and also looks at gendered stereotypes of Black women in the media. The paper has international implications as academics continue to debate the positive and negative implications of the Me Too movement for minority groups around the world. I'd like to congratulate Ashley Wax for winning this year's Gender and International Relations Prize.
Okay, thanks very much, Nina. And there she is, Ashley. Congratulations. Okay. Earlier in my remarks, I listed but a few of the initiatives that have set this class apart. It was a partial list, and there are many more that can be attributed to the hard work of the Student Government Association. This year, the SGA helped to carry out several SAIS Europe traditions, including the annual Halloween party and the Thanksgiving dinner. They've also been an essential part of the COVID-19 task force, coordinating the efforts to keep the 2020 class connected, even when the pandemic separated us all. I'll call your names out, and we'll virtually invite you to join us on stage. SGA President Kimberly Jasmine. Treasurer Arjun Kaushik. Events Chair Lorenzo Marchetti. Core Services and Academic Affairs Chair Moritz Oosterhoeven. And Student Clubs and Organizations Chair Hayden Hubbard. Let me now invite you to give your remarks.
Thank you, Professor Plummer, and thank you, everyone. I just want to say, ciao Bolognese. Here we are, today, celebrating the ones of us that graduated. What to say? This was for sure a unique and unforgettable academic year. To me, despite COVID and anything else, this year seems to have started just a moment ago. Do you all remember how you were feeling when you arrived in Bologna? What were your feelings when you crossed that door for the first time? I know that some of us were concerned about human relations and how we could have developed them at SAIS. Others were concerned about living in a new country for the first time. Academics, professors, and even staff sometimes were intimidating at first sight. But soon enough, we realized that we were united by our own uniqueness, by the hope we brought into coming at SAIS to change the world for the better, and by the enthusiasm that only a bunch of students from all over the world can bring.
Good point.
Thanks for starting us off. So I'm actually going to take a stroll down memory lane and pick up the highlights of the last 9-10 months. So when I was starting this, I opened up our photographs folder on my phone and ended up spending an hour looking at all the photographs. Highly recommend everybody to do this. I mean, not to get into nostalgic mode, but it is quite beautiful. So, okay, the big ones. Halloween. Okay, so as an Indian, it was the first time for me that I experienced this specific celebration in, let's call it all its glory. I feel like if I was sitting in the room right now, I'd see like at least 60, 70 people rolling their eyes. But let me tell you, like, I'm sold on this. I mean, you get to wear a costume and get a drink. It's like how I imagine my adult life, or what most of it, whatever remains of it. Second, Thanksgiving. So I wasn't there for this one, but I saw the Instagram post stories in the post, and good food, great company. What else do you want, right? Then came our exam fever. So I don't know what was most scary. The immediate silence on all the groups, or the intensity with which everybody got back on. And let's not forget the Vienna Ball, where we waltzed our way into a palace and danced our hearts out to the DJ later. Okay, so lastly, and very short, very fast, I want to settle this once and for all, considering this is recorded. Cremeria Santo Stefano is better than Cabot. Yaniv, I know you know this. Okay.
Okay. First of all, I would like to take a moment and thank you all for your collaboration over the last year. Also the SAIS Europe staff. I would like to focus for a moment on what we did have and did get to experience over the last year, rather than on the would haves and have nots of the second semester that are clearly significant. But we're also here to look back and see what we did have. We did get to experience 1.5 full semesters in a lively student city in Italy. I might say it's the best that I know. I don't know whether Lorenzo would agree. We forged bonds that will outlast the time that we studied together and will carry this shared experience into the future whenever we're in contact with each other later in life. We did not only forge bonds in small groups, like I'm, for instance, used to from my undergraduate university, which was quite a large institution. My impression is that because of the nature of the SAIS campus in Bologna, because of its size, because of its hospitality, we also forged bonds as a larger community. This happened in big and small outlets, when we organized dinners with strangers. Thank you, Gabby. When we met for drinks with our professors after class, when we sat together at Giulio's almost every day, or when we went to aperitivos, perhaps in unexpected constellations. My final point today is that I couldn't be more grateful for the connections that I made in Bologna. And I personally hope to reconnect with all of you in Washington, D.C. or elsewhere, no matter the uncertainty of the present situation. And as we heard from Fiona Campbell earlier, this may happen even in a couple of decades. And I very much look forward to that. Thank you.
Congratulations, graduates. I just want to speak briefly about coronavirus. At this point, I think we're all pretty done talking about it. So all I want to mention today is the truly inspiring way that all of us came together during this crisis. From the Italians translating the initial announcements into English so we could all understand, to those who left early providing transport information for those who would follow, to others who provided updates on school changes and helped to get papers and deadlines moved back, to what I think may have been the most important, how so many of you posted messages and shared memes and said things that were positive and fun and light, and helped us to keep our sanity despite the heaviness and uncertainty of the past few months. Indeed, many of us didn't get as much time with each other as we would have hoped or expected. And perhaps some of us, like those of you who stayed in Bologna, got way more time with each other than you ever hoped or expected. But I think we can all say that we have a special connection for having sailed through these rough waters together over the last few months. I'll never forget when, just days after escaping COVID in Italy, I experienced a 5.7 magnitude earthquake in Utah and immediately had my phone full of messages from all of you making sure that I was all right. I'll never forget hearing about Gabby being up late into the night, cleaning out apartments and getting people's things back to them. What an incredible group of colleagues, professors, and friends we have here at SAIS Europe. What a tremendous class of 2020. For those coming to DC, I hope we can maintain the deep sense of collegiality and care for one another that we developed this past year. And for those graduating, I hope you'll take that same sense of compassion and desire to help others out into the world. Class of 2020, thank you and congratulations.
Muted.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, sorry, it would only be fitting that there'd be one more Zoom error before we end. But so what I will say, what do we want you guys to remember? Well, if you were to ask us as your SGA what we cherish the most about this year, it wouldn't be the impact that we had or COVID had on our program. It would be the way it would be that at the end of the day, we developed a community that will create a lasting impact on all of our lives. And as graduates, many of you will move on from this period to become influential leaders in incredibly challenging environments. But when you look back on your time here at SAIS, we hope that you remember it for what it truly was. Through the relationships you made, the experiences you had getting to know different cultures and communities, and the lessons you learned about yourself after coming to Bologna without much knowledge of what this year would be like. So once again, I won't hold you guys much longer. I know you guys are dying to end this semester and your year here at SAIS Europe. But we want to thank you for all the support that you have given us throughout this year. The five of us could not have imagined our year in Bologna without being able to represent you as our student body. So as one last nagging reminder, don't be afraid to reach out to anyone in your fellow cohort over the summer, because more than anyone, they will understand what you have been through this year as a student at SAIS. Good luck this summer, be safe, and congratulations on completing one of the greatest achievements of your life.
Thank you all for your presentations and especially for your leadership throughout the year. You know, I remember going back to August when we had the mayor of Bologna give a talk, and there was, well, I think you'd have to call it a shouting match between Lorenzo and the mayor of Bologna, because as you know, Lorenzo's from Imola, and it warms my heart to know that from this day forward, Lorenzo will be referred to as Bolognese. So congratulations, Lorenzo, to you in particular. Okay, it's been such a pleasure to work with all of you. And as we close our time together, I want to share with you a video that we compiled just to say goodbye and offer once again our congratulations. Ciao a tutti.
Bolognese.
Привет.
SAIS.
It's such a pleasure getting to know you all this year.
It was wonderful to have worked with you.
This year you embarked on an amazing journey. Yours was an extraordinary SAIS Europe class from the very beginning. In addition to the usual Bologna Center class bonding, you were extremely active in your clubs, animated at seminars, and engaging inside and outside the classroom. I can't remember when I had so much fun with a class at the Austrian Ball, and I've been going for the past 20 years.
So SAIS is really the best decision I ever made for my life to date.
Studying in Europe is a dream come true.
I can give my best, I can take out the best from it.
I'm so happy for the just cultural opportunities and academic opportunities that SAIS gives me.
And I definitely feel like it's going to give me opportunities to grow professionally and personally.
And being in SAIS Europe in particular is that it gives you the confidence that you can take advantage of almost any opportunity that comes along that will allow you to make changes in your career.
With the tools that we're getting in SAIS, I wish everyone will find the resolve to go out there and make a better world.
I'm very happy that I made the decision to come here, especially because of the ways that I can now interact with others and make other connections moving forward.
I love all of my cohort. That's been the best part about coming here so far, is the friends that I've made. I feel like not only from a professional standpoint have I benefited from the people I've met, but also just personally. It's been awesome.
The relationships that people form here in SAIS Europe as members of the same class are very powerful, and they last a long time.
So sorry not to be able to see you again this spring.
Never forget our lectures on March 8 and 9, when you had to decide whether to remain in lockdown in Bologna or immediately pack up and fly home to your countries.
Then, in a flash, we were hit by the exogenous COVID shock, changing the geographical spread of the class physically, but not its spirit. You met the associated challenges with grace, determination, and grit. The wise always learn from adversity, and no doubt this is the case for the class of 2020. Going forward, the tools you have developed over the past year will serve you not just for your first job, but for your last one. Not merely to cope, but to thrive in a rapidly changing, interconnected world that your generation will mold. The knowledge you have gained and the relationships you have developed at SAIS will support you throughout your lives. The post-COVID world poses myriad challenges, and I have every confidence that you will confront them with imagination, effectiveness, and purpose, always seeking to make the world a better place.
There's a crack in everything, but that's how the light gets in.
Absolutely loved getting to know all of you this year. Viktor.
Congratulations to the SAIS Europe graduating class of 2020.
Congratulazioni ragazzi.
Congratulations to all of you on finishing up a successful year here at SAIS Europe.
Congratulations.
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 I'm so proud of you.
You've had a challenging year, but you've passed with flying colors and are now officially Bolognese.
Wishing you all the best for wherever life takes you next.
I look forward to seeing you soon back in Bologna at an alumni meeting. We will throw you a grand party and then travel together to Romania to finally do our study trip.
I hope we can reconnect and go for a walk or a bike in the hills of Bologna, or have an ice cream on the streets of the city. All the best for the year ahead.
I really look forward to welcoming you all back here in the library as alumni.
Be resilient and be adventurous. You can make the best come. Proceed. Good luck.
Un caro abbraccio da me e da tutti noi a Bologna, auguri e congratulazioni.
Those are my kind of hopes and dreams for the future after the quarantine. In the very short term, I'm looking forward to a haircut.
And doing 17 days of assignments with no caffeine is really
I'll drink.
no caffeine for, okay, 10 days. And then I decided I was allowed to go to the shops.
One of my favorite moments at SAIS started at the beginning, hanging out at Julius and getting to know all the different people and all the different students.
Having good food and something to drink with my friends after school, practically every day. Delicioso is definitely on the list.
Tend to look back and think about, my friends having fun, thinking that one day in the future I might not see them for a while, but I will see them maybe in the newspapers.
I'm thankful to Gabby for cleaning up everyone's stuff after we all left.
Wise always learn from adversity, and no doubt this is the case for the class of 2020. Let's do that again.
Why did you do this?
Goodbye, guys.
And that's the final goodbye.
Ci vediamo presto.
SAIS Europe Classic 2020. Again, congratulations. It fills us with pride to have you join me and others as SAIS Europe alumni, beacons of excellence around the world. As you leave this special place, I hope you too will think of yourselves as ambassadors of Bologna and of the school. Bolognese forge a lasting bond, and not just among yourselves, but also with the impressive network of alumni, which now number 8,500. Your Johns Hopkins SAIS community begins with the people seated here today and connected online, but reaches far beyond. It's been my great honor and privilege to work with you and be the first to welcome you as freshly minted alumni. Congratulations once again, and I look forward to chatting with you at the virtual reception.